Hey there everyone, Video Game Cabinet here, and tonight we're reviewing Blur, which I played on PlayStation 3. Blur is a racing game that released on multiple platforms in 2010. It features real-life automobiles that you race against each other, but mixes things up with weapons you attain throughout the tracks. I do like arcade-style racers, so I have been wanting to give Blur a shot since I first heard about it a couple years ago. I just reached the end credits after playing the whole campaign on easy mode this past week. I placed in all 63 individual events and earned 355 of the 450 total lights. There is still more that I could do, but I am satisfied with my progress for now, and I am ready to give my review. Blur is a solid, but not necessarily great racing game. I've played other racers before. They're definitely superior to this, but I still had a good amount of fun with it. I was a bit lukewarm about the emphasis on weapons in tandem with the actual racing at the beginning, but I got used to it with some practice. The single-player campaign itself is reasonably beefy, so it took me several days of casual play to knock it out. There are 4 different types of events: race, destruction, checkpoint, and one-on-one. You gain lights depending on how well you place in each event, and you also earn fan points to unlock new cars depending on how crazy you drive. What primarily kept me engaged was the plethora of career demands and goals you had to accomplish in all 9 circuits. These were all quite demanding, even on easy mode. Blur is a challenging game, so the difficulty curve added appreciable depth, giving me motivation to learn how to use the weapons, memorize the tracks, and hone my driving skills with each car. The controls in Blur are fairly tight, but I will say it can be a bit tough to drift properly. The graphics are also nice to look at. Blur moves fast, even if it's not the fastest racer I have seen. It can get pretty intense with all the cars crashing and weapons firing on screen at once, though. There are a decent number of courses to race on, but not too many branching paths within them. The locales are cool, but get a little familiar after a while. The licensed music you can turn on in the options menu is all right, but not very memorable at all. It was hard for Blur to stand out from the large pack of racers that released around the same time back in 2010. It's a shame because there is ample entertainment to be had in mastering Blur's driving and weapon strategies to complete all the objectives in its long campaign. The focus on weapons might work better for some than others, but the racing components here are still sturdy. I rate Blur a 7 out of 10. It's an enjoyable game to pass the time if you like arcade-style racers like I do. And that is my review. This was fun. It's definitely not like one of the best racing games I've ever played. I've played some like really great ones that really wowed me. Like, for example, especially, some of my favorite racing games of all time have been Wipeout XL back in the mid-90s. That was incredible. Burnout 3 and Burnout Revenge, the follow-up, those were fantastic. Burnout 3 Takedown is my favorite racing game ever, period. And a couple years ago, I played another racing game that came out basically the same exact time, same month, same year as Blur, and that was Split Second. That one was really good. That one I rated an 8.5 in my review on Instagram a couple of years ago. Yeah, just a quick comparison. So I'm giving Blur a 7. It's good. It's not great, but something like Split Second, I gave that an 8.5. Wipeout XL, that would be 9, maybe 9.5 for nostalgia. It was just such a big game to me back in grade school. Burnout 3 Takedown, that is a 9.5 for sure. That is the best racing game ever made, in my opinion. Burnout 4 Revenge, I think it was called. That one was but probably a 9. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2 on the PlayStation 2 was another big racing game I played back in college, and that one I remember rating a 9. That one was great. And another really fun racing game that I liked a lot was Beetle Adventure Racing on the N64. From what I remember, that would probably be an 8. I played that one back in college. Oh yeah, and Wave Race 64. That game was really impressive for its time. That was a launch title for the N64. Just a beautiful game with the waves. I remember thinking that was, I don't know, maybe an 8.5 or a 9. That one was really good, but it's been a long time since I played it. But yeah, back to Blur. This one is solid. If you like arcade racers, you know, you can just play them and relax and get a little bit better at a time, you know. At first, I wasn't too enthused about the focus on weapons. It felt like they were focusing a little bit more on that than the actual racing, but, you know, you just have to get used to how they work, and you know, if the enemies are shooting at you, you got to learn how to counter them with your weapons, and it's just part of the strategy, you know. So it's kind of cool once you get used to it. And yeah, there's a good number of tracks, but, you know, not too many, but enough, I guess. And the campaign was pretty decently beefy. And I'm telling you, put it on easy mode at first, and then maybe later build up to normal once you complete easy mode, because this game gets hard. Like, you know, I tried on normal at first, and it was really punishing. But even on easy mode, like, maybe the first couple circuits, you're like, okay, this really isn't too bad. But it starts getting harder and harder towards the end, especially when you try to get all the career demands, as well as try to unlock all the lights, you know, if you can. I did not unlock all the lights, but I placed at least third in all the events, usually first or second, you know, whatever it took me to reach 355 lights out of the 450. And I did some of the fan objectives and stuff too, so... But yeah, this was cool. It's not one of my tip-top favorites at all. It's not like one of my absolute favorite racing games, but it was still good to pass the time. I'm glad I got it knocked off the backlog. I definitely had some fun with it. A good amount of fun. There's depth with the challenge factor. That's really, I think, what really rose the score up to a 7. Whereas maybe when I started, I was kind of like meh, but working through the challenge to meet all the goals and objectives, that definitely added some depth to it. And it is a challenging game that will keep you coming back for more. So yeah, for that, I think I definitely have to give it, you know, at least a 7 out of 10. But yeah, so there you go. That's my review for Blur. 7 out of 10. And have a good night.